The month of May continues here on RaceSpot TV, and in this fabled month of May, we have returning action then from the Synology GT3 Championship. After a long and well-deserved break here for the series, we are back at one of the most historic circuits in the world of motorsports. We're at Silverstone today for 1 hour's worth of action here after these few messages on iRacing Live and RaceSpot TV. .13 kilometers, 17 turns, and 1 hour's worth of action. Qualifying in just a couple of minutes will come to an official close, but this is the Synology GT3 Championship brought to you by TMS Motorsport. TMS Motorsport offers a comprehensive range of tuning parts for all makes and models. With competitive pricing, worldwide delivery, and great customer service, visit them today at tmsmotorsport.co.uk. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I am #DoYouMind Jake Sperry. Joined alongside me is Mr. Connery Maddock. And Connery, this championship's had a little bit of a break. We're not even halfway yet through the season. Round number 12, I believe it is. Round 12 here at Silverstone. And, well, there seems to be only one name at the top right now.
Yeah, it does seem to be, and of the drivers out on track, I don't really think any of them can pull a lap out of the bag that is quicker than Iru Nom's 146.1 at the moment in time. But on your screen right now, you're seeing the championship standings for this championship right now. Obviously, Iru Nom on the top of that, leading by 101 points. But things are close for second place. Benjamin Hacks and Neil Bamber only separated by 6.
Only 6 points separating the pair of them then, and so for the time being, it just seems that this championship has a twist and a turn at every stage. You do have to remember, though, ladies and gentlemen, that the championship does have a few little intricacies, the likes of, say, drop weeks that come into play. You also talk about the team's championship getting into effect as well. That one will also be tight as things stands, because leading that at the moment is TMS Motorsports, leading ahead of Synology here. Bodine Solutions have dropped down into 3rd position right now, Connery, but they are incredibly close here as qualifying comes to a close. So for the time being, let's grid them up and see how they stack out right now. It will be Irunom on the pole position in the 041, 146.157. He's joined on the front row by Scott Brazier in second, Tony Baird and Barry Baird, and all Baird second row. Leon Phillips will start in position number 5, and Hackerson there in 6th, with JJ Rimmer 7th, and Neil Bamber in position number 8. Craig Williams will start in 9th, with Adam Shipstone rounding out the top 10. As you look further down, the likes of Craig Parks all the way down in P13. Simon Underhill surprisingly down in P17. Good qualifying from John Roberts and the likes of Darren Veyro right there. A brand new driver into the series in position number 20. 44 cars then will take to the grid, and it's Soren Kroos at the back of the field. He'll have a massive recovery drive needing to be done. One pace lap then we will have going around this circuit then to make sure that everybody is gridded up nicely and getting themselves through as the last results roll through. Connery, there is some brand new news to the series, and it's not going to happen here at this event. It won't even happen at the next event. It's going to be happening in about a month's time from now, the 13th of June, for the first of 3, I quote you, not 3, 2-hour endurance events. That one will be at Le Mans. A new team has decided to show up in the name of Thrustmaster.
Yeah, exactly. That is absolutely fantastic for the series. Getting Thrustmaster on board with the series, the same with other big companies already in the series, like Seagate, Replace Base, etc., etc., etc. But, well, the names in that Thrustmaster team are something to be reckoned with as well. Your current championship leader, Iru Nom, will be a part of that team, so he'll be getting rid of his privateer license, getting that pro license, and he will be joined by Daniel Page, which of course is his teammate in the other Bushwing Racing car, Rolf Just, and Mike Mason as well. So that would be fantastic to see. They're not going to be scoring points, at least initially during the course of this season, since they joined midway through the season, but looking to next season and beyond, that is a very, very strong team indeed.
It certainly is, and it's one of 2 new teams that have joined in about the last 2-3 races that we've seen. We also saw Arozzi join as well here, everyone that's been trying to make this effort. So already we've seen a very good starting point, but it's more than just a starting point here for some. We're in the midway of the season here. This is where form becomes crucial, because you get break after break after break. You get a little bit disjunct. You need to try and find out where you can get as many points as you possibly can. So the time comes now to challenge this circuit here, Connery. It's a very difficult one. 3 distinct different sections here, all about high pace, all about quick speed, and well, the best sort of form book that you could argue was the Blank Pound GT series we had here just a few weeks ago. Might have been a little bit longer actually, but it was a certain Pure Racing team that took the victory on that day, with a certain Maximilian Benecke behind the wheel.
Yep, it was, and well, let's see what these guys in the Synology GT3 series can do, wheeling their GT3 cars around the track that is Silverstone right now. We're looking at the old layout right now. This isn't the new redeveloped layout. We're racing on the basically what you could call the historic circuit right now. So they won't be cutting into the what we would call an oval track, the infield. But we still have all the old Abbey, Chicane, Bridge Corner, Priory, etc., etc. as well. And the first corner will be that famous corner of Cops.
It's also worth noting this will be one of 2 times we will head to Silverstone in this series. We'll be running the international layout later on in the series in the countdown to the finish of the championship. Now heading ourselves over to what would be considered the final corners on the brand new layout. This is the Vale, followed by the long right-hander of Club, and this can be an overtaking opportunity if you couldn't quite get it done down into Stowe Corner. You can see here a lot of runoff on the outside, and I expect some drivers to try and use that runoff on the outside, Connery, because you don't actually get an off-track penalty point for it. It's only when you clip the grass.
Yeah, exactly. So your drivers may look to try and exploit that. As you say, I'm not entirely sure where the Synology will stand on that one. They haven't given any sort of race briefing about it, so we have to assume that everything is okay in terms of that, as they're just heading through Abbey Chicane right now. Going to be heading under a bridge turn, not to, well, right now, in fact, there goes the pace car right under the Silverstone bridge, and we're only just 20 or so seconds away from getting this race started.
We are here in the last few corners then as they head into the infield complex here. Priory corner, a fearsome left-hander that challenges even the most hardy of drivers. Those of you who saw the Grand Prix series 2 weeks ago, Kazuki Umeshima of the Radicals Online severely struggled at that one corner. Then you have Brooklands corner here, a slow, labouring left-hand hairpin before you head to the 180-degree corner then of Luffield Bend. Woodcote will be a small kink right, but there's an hour to try and work out and divvy out where everyone is going to stand. Of course, no Tim Ryan, who won last time out at Monza. But the pace falls under Nom's field, and he'll get ourselves going then. The green flag is out, and already the squeeze trying to be applied here as the driver, I believe that is Tony Baird now, to the inside of Scott Brazier, trying to make the moves. Also issues there for Dion Phillips in about 5th position. Down the inside tries Ben Hackerson. Brazier will hold on with the better Ford GT3, and well, for the time being, they're going to stay too wide in the middle of your pack here as they head themselves towards Max and Beckett for the very first time here in your event. And Ben Hackerson still challenging Dion Phillips, will have to take a way to the grass a little bit. He runs wide and holds a very big defense, and a massive train behind him, Connery.
Yes, and there's a battle between Barry Baird and Benjamin Hackerson. As well, Barry Baird made a mess of the first part of the Maggott and Beckett section. This gives the run to Benjamin Hackerson in that McLaren car. A beast in a straight line, heading down onto the brakes into Stowe Corner. Benjamin Hackerson will make his way up in the inside. Meanwhile, there's more battling behind between Neil Bamber and JJ Rimmer, and they're going to head their way, coming down into the chicane. Brakes there, and there's also going to be Craig Williams getting involved as well. Almost a little bit of contact there as they head their way down into Club Corner. But well, everything seems to be okay throughout your field right now in terms of contact.
Oh no, it isn't. We've had a spin. Rolf just gets turned around, and that's just what he didn't want there. Lee Woodburn getting involved too deep on the brakes, and there's more contact behind as Dave White takes a turnaround as well by the driver of Peter Parnell. So in the end, that was not a result that was wanted from either driver in that situation. Just a small bit of contact can exacerbate and make itself so much more difficult here. But at the front of your field, Irunom hasn't broken away yet. Scott Brazier sits behind in the other Ford GT in 2nd position. Tony Baird there in 3rd. Dion Phillips, I've said all about Dion Phillips. He's up to 4th though. It was the driver, Barry Baird, who was having all the issues on the opening laps there. So now we look at this battle going on further down. Adam Shipstone then looking at Brendan Tills just ahead of him. Tills has already made his way past Nick Connery as they head to Copse for the 2nd time in this event.
Yes, having to file in single file coming through Copse as Brandon Tills actually just pushes a little bit wide during Copse corner. He's going to lose a position as a result of that. Meanwhile, cars ahead, that was JJ Rimmer and Craig A. Williams thinking about going too wide into the Maggott and Beckett section. But, well, as any British racer will tell you, going side by side through the Maggott and Beckett section just loses you a lot of time.
Yeah, it's normally a sequence of corners which is very flowing, that you have one line suits all. The moment you step off line here at Silverstone is the moment that time just falls away from you. Brendan Tills under a lot of pressure. Now Craig Parks trying to make his recovery drive after a poor qualifying, gets a little bit boxed in and couldn't do enough there to really challenge the back of the Ford GT, which some may argue has the balance of performance with it right now in the form of Brendan Tills. Page behind looking to wait, and behind that Captain Cook, Mike Mason, Simon Underhill, Jason Dilworth, all in a train, all waiting for something to happen then in your mid-pack of your field right now. This battle going on for position number 11 out on circuit at the moment, and coming to Abbey, a corner which apparently you can't make an overtake on, Connery, but we all know that's a very good overtaking opportunity.
Yeah, just because it's hard doesn't mean your drivers will try it. Here comes Craig Parks down the inside of Brendan Tills, coming into the latter end lap. That was Priory corner, and he's going to still try and stick it down the inside there, coming into the left-hander. A little bit of door-to-door contact there, in fact, as Craig Parks struggles to control the car. Again, the power down. They're going to come through left field right now, battling behind between Daniel Page and John D. Cook. But Daniel Page will get a much better run coming out of left field, coming through Woodcut to complete lap 2. But wow, this is a crazy race already.
crazy race indeed, and very clean as well. That's something that has to be noted here in terms of this one. 44 drivers then took to the grid. Only one car is down by about a minute and a bit. You can see again Brendan Till's under a lot of pressure here. Craig Parks looking to try and pull out and make a move, but wasn't able to. Car going slow ahead of them though is the driver of Dave White, who will have to get out of the way as the form of lap traffic that he is, and you can see that's just going to play into the hands here of Parks, who gets tucked right in underneath. They have to jive to the outside. And a little bit of contact there between Dave White there and Craig Parks. Parks loses all momentum. Here comes Daniel Page. Don't go 3 wide, boys. Let's go 3 wide, boys. And he gets through the needle, threads the needle, goes through, and Parks goes incredibly deep to try and hold the position. Just about does. Fantastic bit of battling.
Yeah, that was about as deep on the brakes that Craig Parks could have gone without crashing right into the back of Brendan Sills as they break down into Vale right now. A little bit of bumper banging behind them as they head into the entry to Club Corner right now. And this is fantastic battling just outside your top 10. Battle for P11. Brandon Tills runs wide. Judgeable DRS line. DRS obviously is not in effect on these cars. Daniel Page will have, well, yeah, a little bit of a chance coming down into Abbey Corner. Not going to take it though, as this train is absolutely being absolutely feisty right now.
It is here, and we've got more battles further forward. JJ Rimmer then just trying to hold the defense then on Craig A. Williams. Williams looking to the inside, and you know what? He's run a little bit wide. Was that scripted? Don't quite know. But Craig Williams goes through, and JJ Rimmer there to now make the charge on Barry Baird and Ben Hackerson right now. Top 3 haven't broken away the way you thought they would, though, here today, Connery. You got Iru Nom stuck with Scott Brazier behind, Tony Baird behind that as well, holding on to this group. And you also have to remember, one pit stop in this series. You can't get to the end on a full tank, as we see side-by-side Gentleman John Roberts versus Lee Bunker for P number 22 and 21 on circuit. And for the moment, Lee Bunker down to the inside and takes it at Cops.
Yeah, exactly, and gets a relatively decent run coming out of Cops Corner as well. But John and Roberts will have a little bit of the benefit of the drafts coming down into Magnus and Beckett's section. But again, as I've said, you don't really want to take it too wide coming through this section. You lose a whole ton of time as battling ahead, crazy battling ahead, 4P number 12 and back. This is Craig Parks, Daniel Page, John Cook, Mike Mason and Simon Underhill all in one big battle pack on the way down towards Stowe Corner, side by side between John D. Cook and Daniel Page. Daniel Page is going to be the one on the inside, John Cook on the outside, but that advantage is going to switch when they get onto the brakes coming down into the Vale chicane. Here comes John Cook. Can he hold that inside line and get in front just before Club Corner? He does not manage it, as Daniel Page, again, still taking it side by side as they head their way through Club. And you have to wonder how long this is going to last, as Daniel Page gets a huge power slide coming out of the corner and almost contact with the car just beside him.
Yeah, you can see Simon Underhill now down to the inside of Abbey and makes the move stick. So I tell you what, though, in terms of this battle, I wouldn't want to be at one of the tyres on Craig Parks' machine. He was torturing them through Max and Beckett's. A slide at every moment. I tell you what, if you do end up going to hell, I believe you will end up as one of Craig Parks' tyres when all is said and done. Cook, though, still trying to hold on. Mason just behind, trying to make something happen. Underhill, Page, Rainiers, Dilworth, Vero Wright and McCain all in this train here as they stand right now, and this is about a 7-8 car train battle going all the way back down from about 12th position right now. John Cook holding on to things for the moment, but I do want to look at this battle further up through the field here. You talk about the leading 3. Tony Baird unable to close in at the moment on Scott Brazier and Iru Nom. It's worth noting, though, at the moment that the pair of teammates in the form of Nom and Brazier from Team Bushvink. But, of course, Thrustmaster will change everything in 2 races' time. So for Iru Nom, he has his buffer right now, but in 2 races' time, Connery, he may not.
Yeah, exactly. So, well, the way they choose the teams for this series is they try to make the teams as equal as possible with 2 pro drivers, 2 AM drivers. Those are your professionals and your amateurs, well, in this series, and is basically, well, they try to even it out as much as they can, so you need to balance out Iru Nom with someone not quite as quick. Meanwhile, this battle between the 30 and the 48, this is going to be John D. Cook and Mike Mason, still very, very close as they head their way into Vale and then into Club Corner. And this battle, this pack, is not breaking up at all.
No, it's not. It may need a little bit of emphasis then to spark it into light. Maybe a little bit of flint then to the in action, you could say here right now. As you can see, John Cook then running a little bit wider. Abbey there. Mason will look to try and take advantage. So will Underhill there. And you can see right now Mike Mason looking for the inside of Bridge, not going to happen. Underhill gets a mega run, goes hard to the inside and takes the power move down on the inside there of Mike Mason. Mason didn't have much, tries to go for the up and under. That's not going to work because Underhill's going to go defensive and hold the position just for the time being. So say +1 for Simon Underhill, who now moves +3 for the day up into position number 14 when all is said and done. Keep an eye out on this one though, this battle going on for P number 5 on circuit, or actually P4 on circuit. Barry Baird, Benjamin Hackerson, Dion Phillips. Dion Phillips having his best result of the season so far. Worth noting, there's been a car change for Dion Phillips. That's a McLaren he's driving.
Yeah, exactly. He was driving the Audi in previous rounds, but now he has switched to the McLaren. You can do that in this series. They do allow you to switch cars as long as you give enough notice to the race administrators. And that is exactly what Dion Phillips has done, to switch to something perhaps a little bit more comfortable for him, a little bit more competitive for him. We saw Benjamin Hackerson make the switch from a Mercedes to a McLaren earlier on in the season at Imola. And look at that, where that has got him. It's got him into the top 5 right now. It got him the race win at Imola.
It certainly did. And well, it is worth noting that the quickest McLaren driver in the world right now, in terms of, in blank pan terms, has to be classy Frederick Rasmussen, who has managed to get himself up 3 pole positions in the blank pan in 3 attempts. So that just proves to you just how quick the McLaren can be under the right hands. And at the moment, it's McLaren versus McLaren. Of course, the fastest in terms of top speed, Connery, this McLaren. So you look at Dion Phillips versus Ben Hackerson. Nobody has the advantage here compared to everyone else. But Barry Baird, he's got to try and do it in the corners in his vehicle.
Yeah, exactly. The McLaren's strong point is definitely that straight line speed. These slow speed corners and well, the low to medium speed corners as well don't really suit it all that well. That definitely suits that Mercedes that Barry Baird has right now. But on these straights, he's just at a huge deficit, coming down into Copse, coming down the hangar straight as well. So he kind of has to manage his strengths and weaknesses.
He does. Roberts, bunker 2, electric boogaloo. Then John Roberts holds the advantage coming out of Luffield corner in the battle for position number 21 out on circuit then. So gentlemen, John back forward, but has lost 3 positions then in the early goings, and they have to be careful behind because they've got likes of Phil Bedford and Bart Daleman there just behind them. So they could get themselves back into this fight, Connery, here in this battle lower down. Worth noting though, it's a gap that's been bridged here from Eru Nom to Scott Brazier. 1.3 seconds now the gap.
Yeah, and that was 0.4 of a second last time by that 41 driver of Eru Nom has taken out of the second place position driver at this moment in time. But Tony Baird hasn't really fallen off the back of Scott Brazier either. The gap stands at around 0.9 of a second last time across the line. So he's not losing them. Maybe he can make something work during the required pit stop that we have here in this series, because they are fuel limited. That fuel tank cannot go to the end of the race. And, well, we'll see what happens during the pit cycle. Meanwhile, this battle between Dion Phillips and Benjamin Hackerson, though, just outside the podium positions, P4 and P5, this is still on, and Benjamin Hackerson's just getting closer and closer and closer. 0.5 of a second last time by. And
a big wiggle coming out of Priory as he attacks the curb on exit then into Brooklands. Doesn't seem to compromise him too much as they head to Luffield. Bit of dirty air effect then coming into play, so isn't able to really close up the way he would have desired through Luffield corner, but gets back on the power again, looking to try and close down that gap as they cross the line. Well, let's just say then that gap increases to about 0.5 of a second then as they head in towards turn number 1. Now he needs a very good run here, Connery, through this Magnussen-Beckett section. Arguably, it is the greatest chicane section in the world as things stand. Into Maggots, then this right-hander, into Beckett's, then the left, and then you got Chappell, this next right-hander. If you get any one of these corners wrong, you are in the mire. But once you get all of them right and absolutely nail it 100%, you find yourself in a situation, Connery, where you could say the likes of Ben Hackerson could gain upwards of 0.5 second in that very section alone.
Yeah, exactly. You have to hit each and every apex perfectly to get the absolute best line you can through that Magnussen-Beckett section. And I do agree with you, it's one of the best sequences of corners in the whole of motorsport, right up there with Suzuka's S-curves. And it's so good that Circle of Americas may have taken a little bit of inspiration from it.
They may have, and of course, they will be heading to Circuit of the Americas. Have they headed to Circuit of the Americas? That'll be something I'll need to find out then in just a few moments' time. For the time being, though, they're going to stay line astern in your top 10 as things stands. Brendan Tills, though, still under a little bit of pressure here. Craig Parks is now back onto the rear then of that driver of Brendan Tills, and Tills managed to get away when Parks was fighting incredibly heavily. Parks has a little bit of a buffer behind back to John Cook in the battle for P number 12 here right now. But Connery, you have to wonder, how much damage has Craig Parks done to his tyres already as he tries to go for the power move into Priory?
Yeah, he's really been abusing these tires. If you haven't seen already, very deep on the brakes pretty much every time, trying to find a chink in Brendan Till's armor, but it's not paying off for him at the moment, and he may struggle with those tires at the end of the race if he's abusing them a little bit too much. In terms of track temperature, though, it's not the highest that it can be, but it is a clear sky with 20-degree air temp and 36 degrees Celsius track temp. So, well, those tires are going to be overheating just a little bit by going so deep on the brakes every single time that Craig Parks has been doing. So he has to be very careful coming towards the end of the race, because you do not take tires in a pit stop in this series.
No, you don't here, as we see an incident for the 035 machine there. That's Bram Reniers, who has run into issues on the run out of Copse Corner. Ran a little bit wide then coming out of Copse, just got caught on that rumble strip, that AstroTurf, straight back across then the pit exit, shall we say, and ended up facing the wrong way out at Copse Corner. So Bram Reniers drops himself now down with Ryan Walker in front of him. So that's P25 he's fallen back to, and it's a long way back to Soren Kroos head. Talk about Soren Kroos actually here, Connery. He's been very quiet in the early goings here. That's because he's a lap down, so still only in P42.
Yeah, he is, and well, this is kind of a race to, well, just to kind of forget about right now for Soren Kroos. Started at the back of the grid, hasn't really made much progress up the field, and it looks like that car is relatively damaged as well. By the way, he was driving through through Cup Corner right there, or it may not be. It may have been just Soren Kroos' mistake. He's not having a great day at the moment.
Yeah, he has been shown as already pitted, so Soren Kroos day is pretty much going to have to rely on who survives. We do have a couple of retirements here. Martin Gelenke, Dave White is a lap down, Lee Woodburn lap down. We have Daniel Bailey on pit road, so has run into some issues somewhere out on circuit as things stand. The gap, though, is starting to come back down again, though, in the battle for your race lead here. Scott Brazier's last lap, a 146.9, meets a 147 flat from Iru Nom. So that difference there of about a tenth of a second, maybe half a tenth, just enough to bring that gap to 1.2. The very fringes, Connery, of the draft. And it's a very difficult draft to pick up from a 4GT. I keep on mentioning it here in this series, but that 4GT is incredibly sleek. It's incredibly low to the ground, which makes it incredibly difficult to get an effective draft off of.
Yeah, and especially with a few recent builds that iRacing have put out, reducing the draft effect on these GT3 cars makes it extra difficult to try and get a draft off of the 4GT especially. Doesn't mean it's non-existent, it just wasn't as powerful as it was before. And, well, just looking back through the field right now, the battle between Brendan Tills and Craig Parks is still not over. Craig Parks not able to find any way past that Ford GT ahead of him. And, well, he must be getting very frustrated at this moment in time. He's actually dropping back a little bit. Maybe he has taken too much out of the tyres and is paying the price for it.
Yeah, maybe just trying to save himself, get a little bit of resolve before making another concerted push to make something happen. Maybe just trying to cool the tyre temperatures down so he's not burning up the tyres even further than he is at the moment. John Cook under a lot of pressure behind us. Simon Underhill looks for a way through at any given opportunity. Doesn't quite get close enough then through Priory Corner. Sends one to the inside, but tries to make that aggressive little move to say, oh, hello, I'm on the back of you and I can quite easily make a move if I get close enough. So Simon Underhill starting to apply the pressure here on Captain John Cook as things stands, Connery. But this is one of the circuits we haven't seen too much of a breakaway effect here. Apart from the leading three, you look at it from about P4 back, they are all within P4 to P10, about a second and a half of each other.
Yes, they are. So, yeah, you're completely right. The field hasn't really spread out as much as we perhaps would have thought it would based on other rounds of the season. It's just one of those characteristics of the Silverstone circuit, if I can get my words out properly. Meanwhile, Simon Unhill in that 007 car gets the end section of Magnussen Beckett's just a little bit wrong, but manages to recover it coming from Chapel Corner, and it kind of negates the run that Mike Mason would have gotten if he did not recover like he did.
Yeah, not going to happen. Down the hanger straight into Stowe. You can see Underhill takes a lot out of the corner, and you can see also just makes a few little tyre marks on the circuit there, rubbery in that circuit, making it a little bit more difficult. Already you're seeing here just how rubbered in and hot the track surface is getting by the amount of vehicles just continually running over it time and time again. The grip goes up, the grip goes back down again, and the gap is coming down in the battle for your race lead, because Scott Brazier, after a few okay-ish laps here, of 1:46.8 that last time by compared to a 47.1, he's brought himself back into this fight here. His fastest lap of the event so far, and actually the fastest lap of the race so far, has brought him back within a second. Gap across the line, though, will look a little bit more different, because that is now 0.6 of a second here in terms of the racing action. It's not often, Connery, here around this circuit that you can say you set the fastest lap on lap number 10. Normally you see it lap 4, lap 5 when the tyres are rubbered in and up to temperature. Lap 10 when the track starts to fall away from you a little bit. Scott Brazier's doing a very good job of things.
Yeah, it just shows how hard he is pushing that Ford GT right now to catch right up to the back bumper of his current teammate, shall we say, in Iru Nom, as they head their way down the hanger straight right now. Iru Nom got a little bit of a better run coming out of the Chapel Corner, getting the effect of the draft just a little bit, but Scott Brazier is just there watching and waiting, and any mistake Iru makes now is going to cost him.
It is here, and for Iru Nom, it's going to be a case of trying to just stay calm here. The pit stop window opens maybe in the next 5 minutes or so to really get itself going, but you could dive in at any given stage from around about now and make it home to the end. So for Iru Nom, it's now a case of who plays chicken first here between him and his teammate. Will they be on the same strategy or different strategies? Connery, the last time these two had a major battle between each other, it was a certain circuit called Watkins Glen, and in the end it was Scott Brazier who came out victorious on that occasion.
It was, and you have to wonder if that is going to be playing on Iru Nom's mind, or indeed on Scott Brazier's mind, as this battle just gets closer and closer and closer together. And, well, it may be something to consider while this battle is going on. Meanwhile, Tony Bed is still holding station as he slides the car a little bit coming through left field corner right there, but it's not going to do him too much harm. He has a decent buffer over Dion Phillips, just a couple of seconds behind him. Meanwhile, though, this Benjamin Haxton versus Barry Baird, that's a battle that's going to be on relatively soon as well. Barry Baird looking for the move, maybe coming down his cars. Actually, he's going to back out of it. Did he get a slowdown penalty coming through Woodcut there? He did cross the white line, not all 4 tires though, but he did slow down unexpectedly just before cops.
Yeah, maybe that was enough, because he had a very good run and there was a little bit of trying to ease onto the brakes as Ben Hackerson actually goes straight on down at Beckett's there, so that will be a slowdown penalty, and he'll have to try and serve that one there. So Ben Hackerson getting a huge amount of things wrong there as he headed through Magnussen Beckett, and let's see what the incident was. Oh, too much of the curb through Maggott's corner, just completely spat the car out on exit. And well, if you want to know how difficult Maggott's and Beckett's can be, and if you want to try and take it for granted with high downforce in a Formula 1 car, try the GT3. It's a little bit more of a challenge, Connery.
It is, and I think Benjamin Haxton's just trying out the lawn mowing prowess of that McLaren car as he head his way across the grass, but he manages to recover it, not hit any barriers. He's going to push wide coming through the corner yet again. We said at the top of the broadcast you can do that without getting an off track, but it's not always the optimal line coming through there.
No, I think he thinks his name is Jimmy Broadbent just for a moment. We love you, Jimmy, honest. So Ben Hackerson right now here under pressure from Barry Baird. It's allowed Craig A. Williams then into the fight after being 2.5 seconds back here in the last lap. He is now onto the rear of the driver of Barry Baird. That just shows you that the moment you lack concentration, you bring other people back into the fight, and what was a very easy P4, P5, P6 battle very quickly becomes a P5, P6, P7 battle. Of course, the pit stop window now, you can argue, is officially open in terms of this one. So any drivers that want to come down onto pit road can here at the moment. Parks has been caught up by Cook, Underhill, Mason and Page. And you can see a train of 6 now developing here for P number 11 downwards. And from P11 downwards here, you can argue it's the best of the rest. But with such a long season, Connery, points become vital, not just for the Drivers' Championship, but for Teams' Championships as well.
Yes, it is. And, well, this battle pack that's starting to form yet again is pretty much the same one that we saw at the start of the race. So it's going to be fantastic to see these guys fighting again, perhaps with the same ferociousness that they did at the start of the race. Cannot wait for that as Craig Parks looks to get a good run coming out of Beckett's, coming out of Chapel. Not going to happen, though. And, well, that Ford GT has a slight straight line speed advantage over the Mercedes. Allows it to just stretch out that gap just a little bit, and the draft really isn't helping Craig Parks right here. Maybe he's running a little bit of a higher downforce setup as well.
Yeah, that might be the case here, that he's just unable to make it up on the straights, has to do it in the corners. On the brakes, defensive line from Tills there, defender of the lost corner a little bit, holds up Parks then on the exit of the Vale, now into the club corner of this long looping right-hander, and parity resumes itself as Tills gets a much better exit coming out to the corner. Parks not close enough, Cook not close enough to really make a move here as this pack starts to stretch out here like an accordion would here, Connery. So no real concertina effect as of yet right now. Of course, pit stop window is open, and again, you're leading to decide it's not time just yet to send themselves onto the lane.
Craig Parks yet again abusing the brakes coming into Priory, trying to find any gap as Brandon Tills actually gets a bit of a power slide coming through the penultimate corner. That is put him a little, well, it's coming under threat a little bit from Craig Parks as a result of that, but well recovered to try to keep his position as he gets a fantastic run coming out to Blufffield corner. That's going to pretty much secure his position on the run all the way down to Cops corner, coming down into Maggots and Beckett's as well. And well, the traction of that Ford GT of Brendan Tills is a force to be reckoned with right now if you're Craig Parks.
Traffic ahead of Ben Hackson will have to negotiate that, and slow on exit as well, moves to the outside. Baird gets a fantastic run. Barry Baird, that is, will go side by side with the very much quicker vehicle of Benjamin Hackson, and Hackson on the inside will let him go. Doesn't want to challenge it down into the corner there, but actually you can argue running a little bit wider there was Barry Baird. That's going to allow Hackson back into play, maybe trying to save a little bit of fuel, but now that allows Craig A. Williams to try and get onto the back, but they're going to stay line astern as they all hit onto the brakes. Behind that, though, the driver of JJ Rimmer trying to get involved in this. Connery, one of the great things about this circuit is the fact
three wide. Brendan Tills 52 car coming down into going on this huge contact with Craig Parks and a couple of other cars involved as well. That's going to be Mike Mason, John Cook, Daniel Page also involved in that one. Severe damage to a couple of cars right there. We'll have to get a replay just to piece together what has happened here.
Well, they were 3 wide coming down in. There was a little bit of wiggling between Cook and from Tills. There was no contact between anyone, but they were all trying to play last of the late breakers. Craig Parks was clear at the front, and in the end was the innocent bystander in all that was going on. And you can see he is now crabbing very, very heavily down the straights here as he looks to try and get himself home. That's a little bit of a lazy one, shall we say, in terms of the racing action, in terms of that instant there, Connery. That's not how you want things to happen. We do have ourselves no cars on pit road. Actually, we have 1 car on pit road. Simon Underhill will decide to dive in after the incident. So will John Cook here. So that has completely forced that one incident, the middle of the pack, to come in on the pit stop window.
Yeah, and just looking back at this incident, in fact, Craig Parks managed to make his way through on Brendan Tills during Stowe corner when Brendan Tills pushed a little bit wide, got it into a bit of a slide, and then I think the red mist descended then from Brendan Tills. Then he had 2 cars either side of him, decided to go very, very late on the brakes, much later than he had any right to do, and it ended up in that unfortunate incident.
It certainly did, and the point I was trying to make before that we got so rudely interrupted by Brendan Tills and co. is that this circuit has a very interesting quirk. Of course, it's an old airfield, which means there is next to no elevation change. And when you talk about a circuit with next to no elevation change, Connery, you'll be surprised how many drivers actually love coming to Silverstone despite the fact that there is no challenge in terms of the engine or in terms of, say, putting the suspension into gear. It is a completely flat circuit, you could almost argue, and that is a unique challenge of itself.
Yeah, exactly. It's a real driver's track, is the circuit of Silverstone, and well, it's actually fantastic to see racing on it as well. It suits itself both to the driver's pleasure and the viewer's pleasure as well. As well, that incident has basically caused a lot of our battles to fizzle out, but except for the one between Barry Baird, Benjamin Haggis, and Craig A. Williams is actually going to head his way down onto pit lane, and JJ Rimmer as well. JJ Rimmer actually losing time on pit entry there. He broke down to pit road speed limit way before the yellow cones. He's going to lose a couple of attempts there.
He is, and he is being a little bit conservative, and I don't blame him in the situation, because the last thing you want to do is wait an extra 15 seconds when you can waste maybe 0.2 of a second, making sure that doesn't happen. Actually misses his pit box just a little bit. So JJ Rimmer being a little bit conservative in one area, being a little bit aggressive in another area. So JJ Rimmer running into a lot of issues as the driver of Jonathan Beresford will look to get himself out of pit road as things stand. Craig A. Williams is done with his stop there. Just fuel, no tyres, and they come out behind Delman, Bunker, and Gregory here in the battles going on. So might have to catch traffic in a little bit, Connery. It's just enough of a gap, though, that he can use it to his advantage for 1 or 2 laps.
Yeah, exactly. And there's a car off on the side of the road there during the Maggott and Beckett section. That was the car of Peter Parnell in the number 53 car. He had an issue coming into the Maggott and Beckett section, letting some leaders by, and then he parked it at the side of the racetrack and then retired the car.
Yeah, he did. And, well, Peter Parnell's day was going from bad to worse. Being lapped down is a horrible feeling at times, and, well, I know the feeling all too well. Decides to pull it down onto the lane. Nom versus Brazier, though. Battle for your race lead. Will anyone dive down onto the lane? No, they stay out again. A little game of cat and mouse, the game of chess. Nom's been leading the entirety of the way, and I just can't help but feel here, Connery, in this situation, that Scott Brazier is trying to play the numbers game with Eru, just trying to force him out of fuel while he saves and maybe could take a little bit less fuel when he comes to the stop or go a lap longer.
Yeah, they're running pretty identical lap times at this moment in time. Eru Nom a 47.284 last time by, and Scott Brazier a 47.264 last time by. So that is the difference, however slim, between these two drivers at the front of the field right now. It's going to have to be battle of the pit crews if they come in at the same time, or the battle of the under/overcut if they pit at different times. Meanwhile, pit roads, cars down on pit road. Jason Dilworth is heading his way down onto the lane. So is Brendan Tills after his earlier incident, and he's going to get that front end damage repaired to that Ford GT. That's definitely going to suffer in terms of time. Luckily, they have fast repairs in this series.
They do, and well, it was a sorry-looking sight for Brendan Till's machine, but taking that fast repair will cost a little bit of time as they buffer it out and make sure they get it going. Craig A. Williams trying to get past Bart Daleman then. Not for actual, well, it is for actual position, but it's not for net position here in terms of the battling. Craig A. Williams being held up now as he heads through Chapel Corner, now needs to get onto the power and really attack Bart Daleman, then down the hangar straight. No DRS, as we stated previously, at the halfway stage. So now tucking underneath, looking to try and use his vehicle to his advantage. And he's not close enough, but he'll send a long one deep down into the inside there. A very good dive bomb attempt, and he makes it safe. And that's the thing here, Connery. A dive bomb is okay if it's controlled. It was controlled, so he managed to keep it in. Nom and Brazier stay out.
Yeah, exactly. And, well, if you are going to do a dive bomb, that is kind of the way to do it. Number 42 driver has a car off ahead of him. That is Jonathan Beresford into the wall. He's already 1 lap down, and that's going to cause him to go many, many more laps down, having a trouble with the wheel spin coming out of Club Corner.
Oh, it so easily happens, doesn't it? Club Corner is one of those corners where you are always trying to put the power down, but when you put that power down is a very difficult thing to judge. And, well, in the end, that would be all she wrote in terms of that one then. You look at the battle, though, at the front of your field. That's the one that's very interesting. Down hanger into what is that Stowe corner. And Nom runs a little bit deep onto the brakes. Has to take a second tap of the brakes, which doesn't make himself the quickest through that corner. As you can see, Brazier just still very content to wait behind, apply the pressure here onto Iru Nom. Nom is a driver who thrives off of pressure, but in this series, Connery, he hasn't exactly proven himself when the chips have been up against him.
Yeah, for that very reason alone, makes this battle very, very interesting. And, well, this is the most that Iru Nom has had to do for a couple of rounds, shall we say, with Scott Brazier being very, very busy in his rear view and wing mirrors. Will any of them come down pit road this time by as they head their way through Priory? And, well, these last couple of corners of the laps, we will get to know the news relatively soon about what the pit strategies are between these two Ford GTs. As Scott Brazier closes up and the brakes coming down into the left field corner, will anyone head down pit road? The answer to that question is no.
No, so they'll stay out, and I don't think they can stay out too much longer in terms of time. About 35 minutes, you could argue, is as long as a tank goes. So probably next time by, you'll see both of these drivers look to hop down onto the lane. Tony Bed stays out. Dion Phillips, though, decides to bite the bullet. He drops down onto pit road then, and the first of your front runners to really make a stop here. This is crucial in the battle for P4, 5, 6, and arguably P3 as well if Tony Bed runs into issues, Connery. Dion Phillips being the first to blink forces the hand of many other drivers here.
Yeah, the highest placed driver right now to bring his car down onto pit road, as he will just wait for the fuel to go into that car stationary. Usually around about 15, 16, 17 seconds is the usual fuel stop here. And, well, he's well over 14 seconds right now. When will he come out? When will this be a good stop or not? It seems very long, almost 20 seconds stationary in the box. Not a good stop for Dion Phillips, not what he needed.
You have to feel that maybe speeding down onto pit road then if he's continued on, but he gets himself out and away then when all is done, and he's behind Daniel Bailey, behind John Roberts, behind Alan McCain. So a fair ways down then, and that might cost him. Craig A. Williams actually just behind, so actually a car off just in front. That's Daniel Bailey having a big moment then at Beckett. So the pair of them running themselves together, but the battle at the front, surely they've got to dive down onto lane sometime around about now. Nom now trying to just open that gap a little bit here to the driver of Scott Brazier, his own teammate, the 041 and the 050 here, together as they have been all race long. Who will dive down onto the lane? Nom will, but Brazier won't. So Nom's bit the bullet. He couldn't survive on the fuel. Brazier's been saving. He can go a lap longer.
That seems to be the case. All Iru Nom is going for a deliberate early stop to try and maybe undercut, well, Scott Brazier. And now both drivers, when both of them get on track, will be putting in the corners and laps of their lives right now to try and get ahead when both of them have completed their stops. No one currently joins Iru Nom down onto pit road. He's the only car there except for Danny Thomas, who's a couple of laps down. And, well, meanwhile, Alan McCain had a little bit of a slide coming through the Pornsmouth corner there. No harm done. I do not think he has pitted just yet, and that can be said for the entirety of your top 6 right now, and a couple more inside the top 10, and then your car is down towards the bottom end of the top 20.
And Nom's out in traffic side by side with Daniel Page, and that's not what he wanted. He's now behind and losing time. So Iru Nom, all that undercut has been completely unfounded because he has not done the maths correctly in terms of coming out in clean air there. So now for Iru Nom, he's got to get past Page incredibly quickly, tucked in underneath the toe. Will need to move to the right-hand side quickly down the Hanger Straight as they run into Stowe Corner. And you know what? There's not going to be too much of a fight then from the driver Daniel Page. Nom is comfortably through then on the inside, but that has cost him throughout Maggots, throughout Beckett, and Scott Brazier now rounding this Brooklands corner now, looking for Luffield. Will he drop down onto the lane this time? Your race leader at the moment needs to make the stop sometime soon, and the answer is going to be, get yourself on that lane, son. Scott Brazier needs to make the perfect stop now, Connery.
Yeah, I believe that was the correct decision. He was coming up on traffic in a couple of corners time, so decided to bring it down pit road as to avoid that traffic. And now it'll be very interesting to see where he comes out in relation to Iru Nom. I don't think it's looking good for Iru Nom because of the traffic he hit on his outlap right there. And he's got more traffic ahead of him that he has to get past. There's going to be Matthews Van Delden and Danny Thomas as well. And Scott Brazier still stationary in the box. He's joined by Tony Baird, Barry Baird, Benjamin Haxton, Adam Shipstone, Neil Bamber. but also down on pit road. So a good deal of your leaders getting their service on the lane right now. It's going to be 13 seconds stationary currently for Scott Brazier. Where is Iru Nom? He's heading across the start-finish line. This is going to be very, very, very close, Jake. Scott Brazier is going to head on his way off a pit exit into traffic ahead of him. Where is Iru Nom? He is a long way behind. That was a good stop from Scott Brazier, and that just shows how much traffic can hurt your race.
And the jump is complete. Scott Brazier's through, but now he hits the traffic then. Scott Brazier dealing with Thomas Van Delden just ahead. Coombs as well. Worth noting, Rolf, just part of Thrustmaster in 2 races time, could try and do a favour for Iru Nom, who is also joining the same team. You can see Brazier to the outside, to the inside he goes. Danny Thomas will let him go through as per lap traffic rules come into play. But for Iru Nom, that is the last thing wanted. Barry Baird, though, has the jump on Ben Ackerson, has the jump on Craig A. Williams. Where is that driver then that we're looking at in the form of what was going to be Dion Phillips. So Dion Phillips has dropped off of the timing sheet. Something's happened to Dion Phillips.
Yeah, he's currently being scored down in the 20th place. No damage I can see to that car at this moment in time. I do not know if he's had an unscheduled stop. Yeah, it looks like he's brought the car down pit road twice. Maybe a little bit of a miscalculation on the fuel or a speeding penalty coming out of pit road that has put Dion Phillips down into that P20.
And for the second straight time, Connery, he has been up in a fantastic position, looking to challenge that podium. Dion Phillips has made a mistake that has cost him so very, very crucially. You cast your eyes back to Motegi when he was up in a podium position and binned the vehicle. That is the only thing you could argue here, Connery, that is missing from Dion Phillips' game, and that is being able to convert a chance from what was a very good race pace.
Yep, and that run of, bad luck has to end for Dion Phillips if he's to get anywhere during the rest of this championship. Alan McCain is going to head his way down onto pit road, one of the late pitters, shall we say. Yeah, John M. Roberts also going to head his way down onto the lane as well for that new Arozzi team. Meanwhile, battle of the front looking at 2.4 seconds last time across the line. On the relative time, it's gone out even further. It's up to 2.7 seconds, and Scott Brazier is getting away. Iru Nom not dealing well with the traffic.
No, the legs are being stretched a little bit for Scott Brazier, and he will be happy. Battle further down, though, for position number 5. Craig A. Williams, then, who is up a fantastic 4 at the moment, looking to make that, 3, shall we say, looking to make it a fantastic 4. Ben Hackson just ahead, trying to make something happen of this right now. Into Stoke Corner, not going to be close enough to make anything happen right now. So needs to work this Mercedes, as things stand, back into a position here, Connery, where he is really trying to challenge the McLaren. Such a difficult one here for the Mercedes, because although it's got good top speed and a very good high gear cadence, it's not got enough, though, to really challenge that McLaren, and will need to rely, arguably, on a mistake off of Hackson, who he's already made one today.
Yeah, that seems to be the case, definitely, as they head their way through Abbey. And, well, no mistakes for Benjamin Hackson there. Gets both apexes absolutely perfect as they head their way through Bridge now. Again, perfect apex from Benjamin Hackson. It's not like not looking like he's making many mistakes right now at this stage, but I'm hoping not giving him the curse of the commentator right now. Meanwhile, down in your field, the 52 of Brendan Tills fighting with the likes of Darren Vario-Wright and John M. Roberts, as actually Tills gets a huge tank slabber on the exit of Club Corner. This gives Vario-Wright a good run coming down into Abbey, gets the position, gets the pass complete, or does he? He gets Abbey all wrong, and that goes Brendan Tills through, only just onto the grass, 3 wide coming down into Bridge Corner almost, and it's absolutely crazy stuff. Again, there goes Vario-Wright sliding through Bridge Corner, and all of a sudden Brendan Tills is back where he started.
And oh look, here's Dion Phillips trying to make a name for himself on the back. Pandemonium has ensued on the airfield of Silverstone. So these 4 all together, all pushing, all looking to try and get themselves back into effect then in terms of the battling. Dion Phillips on the back of this train, Gentleman John Roberts there, Darren Vairo-Wright here, and Brendan Tills now actually starting to break away from this group ever so slightly. And Connery, you have to be careful here as you look at Dion Phillips. He gets a good run coming out of Copse Corner, but you can't normally do it into Magnussen Beckett. He looks to the outside, but he's now trying to set up that run. Lap traffic also ahead as well, coming into play. Alan McCain then running into all sorts of issues here and is struggling very, very heavily.
Yeah, he is. Meanwhile, this pack is still fighting in the bottom end of your top 20. Alan McCain, Brendan Tills. Alan McCain's actually not lap traffic. He is, involved in this battle. This is a battle for position for him as they head their way down into Stowe Corner. This is a pack of 5 cars currently fighting for position. And, well, they've given us some great entertainment so far. Let's hope they can continue.
Yeah, and Alan McCain made a little mistake coming out of Copse Corner. That's why I was confusing him a little bit for lap traffic in terms of the racing action. Dion Phillips looking for a way through, not being able to find a way through. So now Dion Phillips just needs to get as many points as possible here because he is running into a few issues. Though Alan McCain looks at Brendan Tills and thinks, you know what, there's an opportunity to be had if I can continue to apply the pressure. Gets a fantastic run out of the Abbey chicane, looks to the inside at Bridge. The nose will be chopped, so he'll have to just wait behind just for the moment. So for Brendan Tills, he holds on to position, he holds station, he keeps position number 15 even when all is said and done. And look at that behind, another mistake going on side by side. Dion Phillips on the outside then of Gentleman John Roberts. You don't do it around the outside here. He can't do it around the outside here for the moment. Worth noting though, at the front of your field, Irunom's dropped back. It's now 4 seconds to Scott Brazier.
Yes, it is. And, we're just going to take a very, very quick commercial break right here. We'll be back with you in just a couple of minutes.
The action never stopped on RaceSpot TV. We are inside the final 13 minutes then of this event in the Synology GT3 Championship. And we got a little bit of a battle on our hands for the final spot inside the top 5. Craig A. Williams right now all over the back of Benjamin Hackerson, the reigning champion in the 001 machine right now as they head towards Copse Corner. Close. Not close enough just yet, but a lot of lap traffic that can play havoc here. Danny Thomas is the driver just ahead, and Craig A. Williams had a little bit of a look there to the outside, just making sure that he's not running into the back of Hackerson, who takes a much more aggressive line through Maggots there, and then into Beckett's. That opens the gap up a little bit, but it's closed again through Chapel. Car turned around ahead that they have managed to avoid. That's Ben Coombs running into issues here. I'm hashtag Dumont Drinksbury. There's Connery Maddock, and there is Hugo Louise behind the cameras. Here's the slipstream effect coming into play at exactly the right time for Hackerson here, Connery.
Yeah, it is. They're both going to have to make their way down the inside of the lap traffic at Stowe Corner. Look at how close Craig A. Williams is following to the back bump of the McLaren ahead of him. There's a whole bunch of traffic ahead of them. I count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 cars that they have to negotiate themselves through. And, well, those endurance racers in this field will be absolutely loving this. They're used to dealing with traffic. Some of these other drivers are sprint racers. They're not so used to dealing with traffic. And that skill set can become very, very useful in situations like this.
It certainly can. And Ben Hackerson is more commonly known as a Tory car driver, and there's a bit of contact from Parnell, who goes straight on at Abbey, and that's going to allow the driver Craig A. Williams back into the fight, and Hackerson must be fuming that he's let him go side by side. He now runs 2 tyres on the grass, has to lift off, and around the outside tries the driver Williams. There's contact further behind though, as there's been Danny Thomas colliding with, I believe that's the driver of JJ Rimmer. So lap traffic in the space of 2 corners takes 2 drivers almost out of the equation. Still side by side goes Craig A. Williams. He's going to the outside, but he doesn't have the power, does he? It's side by side to Cops.
Yeah, Craig A. Williams gets the initial good run coming out left field corner, but the straight line speed of the McLaren is just going to benefit Benjamin Hackerson the longer that the straight goes on, side by side into Cops corner, at least the entry to it. Craig A. Williams looking to get a cut back. Benjamin Hackerson pushes a tiny bit wide onto the curb. Still an opportunity for Craig A. Williams, if he's brave, going to take it too wide coming down into Maggots and Beckett's section, but no, he's just going to settle behind for now. He sees the lap traffic ahead of him. That is Anthony Marsh, in fact, and I think that's going to be very, very kind to these 2 drivers right now. They might catch him on the hanger straight, or maybe not. It may be the entry coming down into Stowe Corner, or even later if they're unlucky. And it looks like they're going to be unlucky right now, as that car is not going to be passing the straight. Defensive inside line for Benjamin Hackerson coming into Stowe. Cutback opportunity for Craig A. Williams as he takes that apex, but still not able to get there. And Benjamin Hackerson gets a power slide on, tang slapper, fishtailing all over the track, and there goes Craig A. Williams through.
Yeah, Ben Hackerson so lucky to have held that one. That was a heart-in-mouth moment. We thought we'd lost 5th and 6th position in this race, and now the promotion could have gone to the driver of Adam Shipstone, who's been very quiet, just sat there waiting patiently. Saw the incident with JJ Rimmer, went by, almost saw the incident then between these 2, went by. Ben Hackerson now has to work on Craig A. Williams, has to get back out of the way, gets Anthony Marsh then, who drops out of the way as lap traffic. But that was a very, very scary moment. All the action then has heated up then in the last 10 minutes of this event, and we still have ourselves a few little scraps trying to go on, the likes of, say, this one, Darren Vero Wright against John Roberts here. Roberts looking to try and make a position back on Vero Wright to get himself back to even for the day so far here, Connery. And you have to feel level par for John Roberts is a fantastic result.
Yes, it is, and well, as you said, fantastic result for him in P19 at this moment in time, inside the top 20. Well, whereas we expect him to be a little bit further down than that. But meanwhile, this battle between Craig A. Williams and Benjamin Hackerson has opened up a little bit as Benjamin Hackerson slides through the first apex of the Maggots and Beckett section. That's not going to do his tyres any good, not going to do his lap times any good, as that place just now falls from his grasp. Craig A. Williams just striding away with this one. And, well, unless Benjamin Hackerson has some sort of other energy reserves that he can tap into, he's not going to be able to catch the rear bumper of Craig A. Williams without Williams making a mistake. And well, going throughout the field right now, there's still a battle going on between, if I can find them, this is going to be Daniel Page and the car ahead of him of Mike Mason. That's still a relatively close one on track, but right now most of your battles throughout your field have fizzled out just a little bit. The one back through the field though between John M. Roberts and Darren Vario Wright is still on as well. Let's see if John M. Roberts can improve one more position and get back into his qualifying position.
Yeah, we'll see if that can happen then. Tucked underneath the toe, unable to really close down that gap is Gentleman John here, trying to take a chance against the newcomer in Darren Veyro right here in the 096 machine, privateer machine, of course, right now. John Roberts then really close then onto the rear as they head into the Vale. But you can see there's that wider line being taken that compromised the run through the first part, but then you can get the power down a little bit earlier out to the second part of this club corner. A little bit of a wiggle though from Veyro right. Here comes John Roberts. He's close. I don't think he's close enough into this left-right chicane of Abbey here, trying to apply that pressure here, trying to force the mistakes, but isn't able to force that mistake just yet. But he is now within about a 1/10 of a second here through bridge, maybe looking to the inside at Priory. He tries to hold a nose down the inside. He's not quite close enough. Needs to try again and keep working it, Connery. That's the key. You've got to work it like a bit of udon dough. You don't let it rest.
No, you don't as well. Different lines coming through left field corner for your two drivers right there, but they end up, having Darren Wright getting the better run coming out of left field. And, this is going to be an interesting fight to the end, we suspect. There's only a couple of minutes left in the session right now as they head their way through Copse Corner. Darren Veyro Wright is going to push a little bit wide. This is going to be a fantastic run for John Ben Roberts. There's a car on the side of the track, Peter Parnell. He's not having a great day at all as they head side by side coming into the Maggins and Beckett section. And, I think Darren Wright just backed out of that one.
Yeah, I think he had to there. John Roberts wasn't going to take no for an answer as he makes his way through then into position number 18. He's back level par, and that is very lovely to see. For Scott Brazier, though, as things stand, he will come across the line, and the timer on the clock says a certain miss at 5 minutes and 45 seconds. So if my maths is correct, that's about 3 to 4 laps then that we're going to see, more likely on the side of 3 than we are on the side of 4. Ben Hackson, though, is falling off of the back of Craig A. Williams at an alarming rate here right now. They've got Rolf Justin Matisse van Delden in a little bit of a fight ahead, but Craig A. Williams, they will pass the start-finish line here, which is the second line on circuit now. And, that's a 147.8 meets a 147.9, so another 10th here, Connery. And that gap now 0.6, actually more than 0.6 of a second. It's now 1.4 tenths of a second.
Yeah, exactly. Meanwhile, a battle I've been keeping an eye on this developed over the past couple of laps is the one for P number 20. This is going to be Phil Bedford versus Philip Gregory. And, Gregory had an opportunity just a couple of corners ago, but didn't make the most of it. And Phil Bedford defended his position. And so, this is the one we're going to be keeping an eye on throughout the rest of the very short time that this race has left on the clock.
Mr. Philip Gregory. Greg's trying to make a move on Phil Bedford then, and close, but that gap will extend just a little bit here. That's 0.6 of a second now, so has dropped off a little bit in the last lap. Was about 0.3 of a second. We did see a little bit of a mistake, so that is going to be quite costly in terms of him trying to get back onto the rear bumper of the driver of Phil Bedford through Maggots, through Beckett. So you can see drivers get a little bit more tentative the further down the field they go. You can see dropping down only to 125 kilometers an hour. And the difference is there's a certain Mr. Craig Parks now eclipsing both of them in terms of pace. The difference in lap times, let's just say that's about 1.4 seconds a lap, Connery. Craig Parks is on a mission.
It is. Meanwhile, number 43 car Dion Phillips looking to make a recovery drive of it, looking to get past the number 10 machine of Alan McCain. Slightly different lines coming through the Vale chicane, heading into club corner. Will Dion Phillips try around the outside of the exit of the corner? He'll try and make a run of it down towards the Abbey chicane. Battle of the late breakers coming down into here. Dion Phillips will have the inside line, will have the pass done. Meanwhile, looking back at the battle between John Roberts and Darren Veyro Wright, again, John Roberts is going to be pulling out that gap. But meanwhile, Phil Bedford and Philip Gregory, that is a still battle that's going on, and they're going to head too wide coming through bridge.
And they're costing each other right now because Craig Parks is now going to be very firmly on the rear as they head into Priory Corner right now. Close, but now just needs to bide his time, just now needs to wait here, just needs to find himself one small mistake, and he'll say thank you very much to one, thank you very much to another, then takes the wide line through the corner, doesn't quite get enough of a momentum coming out of the corner to make something happen into Copse. He will try and close down on the slipstream, but I'm afraid that he's just going to be a little bit too far back, Connery, to make anything work. Worth noting, though, Adam Shipstone is not done in position number 7. He's actually worried behind him. JJ Rimmer is right there and looking to try and get himself level par for the day.
Yeah, he is, and I'm going to keep an eye on that one on my timing screens while I watch this battle for just outside of the top 20, and it's going to be looking, well, Craig Parks is going to be looking for what is basically a recovery drive like some other drivers throughout this field. And, well, he has Philip Gregg to get past, and then Phil Bedford, and that's pretty much all that he'll have a chance at coming towards the end of the race. 2 minutes remaining as he heads his way down into Stowe Corner. Meanwhile, that battle between Shipstone and Haxton, they are in very, very heavy traffic.
They are in incredibly heavy traffic then. Shipstone, Haxton and Rimmer all there together in the same bit of real estate. Shipstone will have the biggest worry though in terms of the racing action. It will be 2 laps to go then as they cross the line. So for JJ Rimmer, he's only got 10 kilometers to make something happen here in terms of the racing that's going on. Problems then for the 003 machine as well. So that one not good then for the driver of Jason Dilworth here as the traffic continues to be an issue. They need to round the drivers of Mathias van Delden and Rolf Just here, but they've caught them at exactly the wrong time. Van Delden gets out of the way at exactly the right time. Now they'll catch Rolf Just on the straight, and now that is not what was wanted for JJ Rimmer because he's not close enough to make that move. He will be in the tow, but very, very crucially, not using that tow is Shipstone here. So Shipstone on the brakes will now get himself held up as he heads himself into the right-hander of Stowe. Now looking for Club Corner, Connery. He's in a bit of trouble.
Yeah, in a slight bit of trouble here as he looks for the hopeful dive bomb down the inside of the traffic. That was very, well, it was a very bullying move in terms of that traffic's point of view right there. Luckily, Rolf just saw it coming and moved well out of the way for that one. That was just how desperate Adam Shipstone was to get past that traffic. Otherwise, you would have been held up behind coming through Vale and Club Corner, and maybe perhaps Abbey as well. And then maybe JJ Rimmer may have had an opportunity. So he basically had to make that dive bomb, otherwise his position was under threat.
White flag lap then in the air for Scott Brazier then, who has just dominated in the second half of this event. We'll keep our eyes though on this Shipstone Rimmer battle that is going on for position number 7 out on circuit right now. Close here is the driver of JJ Rimmer, but not even lap traffic has been helpful at the moment. They will cross the start-finish line around about now here to start their last lap, their last event, their last chance to make something happen and a name for themselves. Worth noting here, the driver of Adam Shipstone, I believe running a Torque Freak livery, can't be too sure about that. JJ Rimmer behind will be looking to try and utilize as much of this course as they can. There is no traffic ahead, just the driver of Ben Hacks and just the driver of Craig A. Williams. I doubt either of them will make a mistake. Onto the power then. They will go on for the final time down the hanger straight, and that gap looks a little bit longer than it was. It looks a little bit too far away for JJ Rimmer to reach out and grab the brass ring in terms of the racing action. But we turn our attentions then to Scott Brazier, who gets himself into the complex for the final time. Rounds Priory, this left-hander, meets the Wellington straight on the right, meets himself through Brooklands Corner on the left-hand side. Just Luffield Corner remains and a small kink right to Woodcote, because it has been a dominant second half. He forced the strategy out of Iru Nom and he played it into his hands when he got caught in lap traffic. Scott Brazier wins at Silverstone in a pretty convincing fashion. Absolutely fantastic stuff for the driver in the 050. Nom will come home in second position overall, and what a podium it is for the driver of Tony Baird. Started P3, finishes in position number 3. The battle is not over and done with for JJ Rimmer. He's on the rear, but he's just not got enough here to really make a challenge. You feel he needed another lap, Connery, to make something happen.
Yeah, just one more lap and it can be applied to so many situations in racing, so many battles. If they had gone on one more lap, there may be something different. Could have been the outcome as a couple of your last finishes start to come across the line here. No battles coming to the line that I can see right now. They're all a little bit too spread out for that one. But wow, that was in some parts very crazy, a very crazy Silverstone race.
It was here, and it's also worth noting as we look at the 002 of Craig Parks. He's managed to get his way past two vehicles here, as that's Darren Vero Wright taking an incredibly wide line actually through Brooklands Corner. Puts himself under threat then on the run to the line, but that's all it's going to be, a threat. Not going to be challenged then on the drag race that is there. So Vero Wright gets himself one over on a driver who has been up at the front of the field before in this season. So I think it's about fair time that we run ourselves through classified results then from the circuit of Silverstone. Round number 12, shall we say, of the racing going on. Scott Brazier takes the victory by 4.1 seconds when all was said and done over the driver of Iru Nom. Tony Baird finishes in third. Brother Barry finishes home in fourth position, with Craig A. Williams a very respectful drive there to fit and arguably a driver of the day candidate. Benjamin Hackson finishes in P6 with Adam Shipstone 7th. JJ Rimmer ran into traffic issues on the final few laps to finish in P number 8. Neil Bamber, a quiet drive, but the Bamber-esque drive to 9th, with Mike Mason running out the top 10. And you look further down, the likes of Brendan Tills having issues in the mid parts of the race. Gentleman John Roberts in P17. Craig Parks all the way down in P number 19. What a horrible day it's been for a driver with so much promise and potential. And then cars a lap down, the likes of Jason Dilworth, the likes of Chris Butterill, the likes of Rolf Just and Matisse Van Delden. Soren Kroos from the back of the field couldn't get anywhere when all was needed to be said from him. And cars that failed to finish the race, the likes of Taylor Lane, Ryan Atmore, Bram Reniers, Dave Whiteley, Woodburn and Martin Gelenke. Well, for the moment, we are just going to step aside here, ladies and gentlemen, because post-race coverage coming to you from the Synology GT3 Championship will be here after these few messages. Don't go away.
Introducing a whole new form of racing to the best online racing simulation in the world. This is Dirt Racing on iRacing.com. Race online at some of America's most legendary dirt tracks, including Eldora and Williams Grove. iRacing is the premier online racing game featuring NASCAR, IndyCar, sports cars, and now World of Outlaws, the leading sanctioning body for dirt racing. iRacing is easy to use and features a centralized ranking system to make sure you have the best experience at any skill level. With a massive inventory of high-precision laser scan tracks and cars with an unmatched dedication to quality and detail, iRacing gives you the most authentic online racing experience available. Thanks to iRacing's dynamic track system, developed specifically for dirt racing, tracks change over the course of a race, just like your favorite dirt track on a Friday or Saturday night. From a slick racing groove all the way up to the cushion, iRacing's dirt tracks deliver non-stop racing action. Partnered with the World of Outlaws, iRacing is your source for the most authentic dirt racing experience available, featuring 4 brand new tracks and 11 new cars, including street stocks, legends cars, late models, NASCAR trucks, winged and non-winged sprint cars, with much more on the way. Join the Dirt Revolution on iRacing.com and start slinging mud today.
Well, after the crazy action that we've seen then at this circuit of Silverstone, it's time to just calm ourselves down a little bit. We've seen action, we've seen crashes, we've seen incident, we've seen brilliant strategy, and we've seen everyone come home and be happy when all is said and done. With me right now here in the commentary booth is Mr. Connery Maddock, because I am #DoYouMind Mr. Jake Sperry. And well, post-race coverage interview starting right now with the driver of Tony Baird. Tony, it's a podium for you. It's another podium for you. But what has to be remembered is, though, it's still 18.5 seconds to Scott Brazier.
Yeah, it was a hard race. Car felt good to start off with in the draft of both Aero and Scott. As soon as I lost it, I just had no front end on the car, just kept it understeering, and it lost me a lot of time.
It did seem to be that way, but, you know, you still have to be happy with a position number 3 after the events that's happened for you. Didn't really have a car to battle all race long, so for you, maybe more about just trying to keep concentration up. There's been a lot of people moaning about the lap traffic here today. Did you find any issues with it?
No, actually, the lap traffic for me was actually, I felt it was absolutely fine. There was quite a lot of traffic battling, but I suppose I must have just caught them at the right times where they just had enough space for let me through. So no, it was okay with me.
Certainly was, and well, there is a little bit of a break if I get everything correct in all of my championship lookers. In fact, it won't be a break. It will be a straight back-to-back for you. Barber next week, late afternoon conditions. It's going to be a colder track. It's going to be a very difficult track at the Spiderweb. How do you feel about Barber? It's a track that not many people get a chance to run.
Yeah, absolutely. I've not actually ever run it, so I better get my wallet out and purchase it for next week and get some practice in. Ready for that, but I hope to do well. I feel quite confident in this car at the moment. So yeah, see how it goes.
Plane tickets booked for America then. Tony Baird comes home in position number 3 when all's said and done. But Connery, I believe you have his brother standing with us, Mr. Barry Baird.
Yep, this is Barry Baird qualifying 4th place and, well, going nowhere in the race in terms of position, just finishing the race in 4th. And, well, that was a fairly decent race for you, Barry. I'm guessing you're pretty happy with that one.
Yeah, I am actually. It's about time that I was back up in the top 5. Been quite a few disappointing races over the last, I don't know, 4 or 5 races. Could have done better. But I got my qualifying better this time, so I was more at the front. Even though my start was pretty poor, I wasn't paying attention and let the 2 McLarens through, which didn't help. I think I had the pace to be with Tony towards the end, but yeah, the start was a bit of a mess.
Yeah, that looked to be the case, and well, at least early on in the race, you were mired within that in that train with the 2 McLarens of Dion Phillips and Benjamin Haxon that well had great starts, and it didn't seem like that Mercedes was all that great in a straight line compared to the McLaren. So I don't think there was much you could have done. Do you have any opinion to the contrary?
No, I couldn't get them on the straight. It was going to have to be the Ben making a mistake, but the lap that I made a mistake, Ben made a mistake as well, but I wasn't close enough at the time to capitalise on that. Straight line speed, I added an extra click a wing towards the end of practice, and so I knew my straight line speed wasn't going to be as good, but I hoped that maybe through the tyre twist, I'd get better traction and maybe tyre life towards the end that could come in use. So I think it worked out okay in the end. I don't think it wouldn't have been any better anyway if I stayed at the wing 3.
A question in the back of my mind, is there any, sibling rivalry between yourself and Tony?
He always beats me. It's very frustrating.
Well, are there any plans to sort that out anytime soon?
Well, I try, but I can't get there yet. He always keeps nipping me a couple of
Can I
tenths.
interject? I will interject and say, Barry, you have a 1-point lead over Tony in the championship.
Yeah, it's a long championship though. He's got some better results than me. So I don't know. It's going to be close, But I hope to beat him. I try hard.
He tries hard.
Go on, Jake.
It's fine. I'm done after you.
Well, that was Barry Baird. Just a few comments with his brother there, Tony Baird, as well. Meanwhile, we have, we're going to have, who do we have? Benjamin Hackison. Let's bring him into the commentary booth right now. Now, Benjamin Hackison, all in all, fairly decent race, but it wasn't without a couple of mistakes.
Yeah, I think you could tell I was a bit rusty today. struggled a bit with the setup because I literally finished my exams today and just jumped on and I nicked the VRS setup and not really got on with it. So yeah, a bit of a struggle. Had someone right behind me the whole time, so not the relaxing race I was hoping for as well.
Yeah, and that's the kind of thing that can happen when you, when you don't get the chance to practice much for a series. Sometimes the ability just really isn't there. But looking towards next week, though, for Barber, I'm thinking you're definitely going to be putting practice in for that one. It's not usually a track that is run all that often here on the iRacing service, but it's a track with some unique challenges with the amount the camber changes for each corner.
Luckily, in the BSRTC, we've run there 2 years in a row now, so I've actually got quite a lot of practice and I know my way around, but I don't think it's going to suit the McLaren at all. That's the only issue.
Yeah, I was thinking that as well, because there aren't really all that many long straights, and the corners that you do have aren't really all that high-speed corners. So the McLarens are definitely going to struggle there, and we may see the dominance of the Ford GT be even more exaggerated at tracks such as that. Would you agree?
I think you're going to be looking more towards the Mercedes, and if there's any BMWs left, maybe the Audi as well. I think the curbs are too high for the Ford there, so we'll see. I do fancy someone like Craig Parts winning Barber.
Would you put any money on it?
I'm a bookie, so I know it's not a good idea to bet.
Oh, well then. I guess that's... please gamble responsibly. That's the message here from Racesport TV. But yeah, as I said, next week, I don't think, as a result of the McLaren not being too good at that track, I don't think you're going to be expecting a fantastic result there.
I'll try my best as always.
Well, there we go. That was Benjamin Haxon finishing in the same position he started, 6th position.
Yes, it was. Well, finally we have Mr. 007. The name's Underhill. Simon Underhill. Simon, a day which you got a good benefit out of, +4, but as a driver who's looking up there as sort of a top 10 contender in the championship, does P13 satisfy you?
Yeah, in the Audi now at Mercedes, so yeah, I've challenged myself today to get at least a top 15, so I'm well pleased with the 13th position for the first time in the Audi. But yeah, I mean, I know I'm not in with the chance of the trophies or the prizes, so I thought, why not have a different challenge and change my car?
Yeah, have a different challenge indeed. Well, it seemed you had a pretty big challenge in the mid part of the race. You got yourself a little bit tangled up, shall we say, with the likes of, say, Brendan Tills. A very scary three-wide moment in towards Vale.
Oh yeah, that was very scary moment, but I decided to hang back a little bit. Paid off because the action happened right in front of me, and I managed to drive around and no X and carry on. So yeah, it was. I could see it coming. Lap after lap, I could see something was going to happen. But yeah, like I say, it just hung back and it worked out.
Certainly has done for you, and of course, Barber in 1 week's time. I mean, how did the break affect you in terms of practice, in terms of getting yourself ready for the championship? But more crucially enough, after Barber, how are you going to feel about another 3-4 week break?
The 3 week break this time was good, just again to put some practice in with the Audi and see if and make my mind up to see if I could make the change or not. Decided to make the change. I love Barber. I think it's a great circuit to drive. I think it might suit the Audi, but let's just see. And then there's another 3 week break, but there's other activities and events going on through iRacing that we're going to get involved with anyway. So yeah, I'm looking forward to it as well.
Yeah, you'll certainly be happy with all that he can get involved with on the iRacing service. But for the time being, it's a P13 from Underhill. Simon Underhill. But of course, that is all we're going to have time for here this evening. Ladies and gentlemen, a big thank you to all the drivers and to all the teams that have been involved in the racing so far today, and to all of you who have been watching at home. That has been Mr. Connery Maddock, struggling from a little bit of tiredness. That has been Hugo Louise, struggling after cutting his arm earlier on today. And I'm #DoYouMind Jake Sperry, struggling from a burnt tongue. Welcome to the Racesport TV Hospital. Goodbye from the Racesport TV Hospital. And well, after all that happened, Scott Brazier takes a little bit of solace and a little bit of momentum. He's beaten the unbeatable Eiru Nom. Good night.